I thought it might be good if you and I had a little bit of a chat by video here, and you're welcome to reply, by the way, but about yesterday's class. I wanted to make sure that you have certain concepts cleared away in your notes as you're taking notes outside of class in this class rather than inside of class. It's only fair for me to offer you some recapitulation of our conversation and to invite you to respond to with things that just are not making sense to you. All right, so first of all, we made a distinction between the information systems model of communication and the constructivist model of communication. The constructivist model, it does not relay or transfer or transmit information primarily. Instead, it makes a social space, like we made around the ping pong table yesterday when we invented a game without a ping pong ball. We made a social space. We made a world together. And you can imagine someone transgressing that world. For instance, if Kelsey had all of a sudden picked up the paddle and whipped it across the room, we would have said, wait, that's not what we're doing. And in a sense, we would have been saying, that's not who we are. You have sinned against our social world. Speech acts are an important concept in a constructivist model of communication. And a speech act is speech that is performative. It's doing something rather than saying something primarily. So that concept is really important for Pearce and Cronin because they want us not to sort of try to get what we're saying right so much as to look at our speech and to ask what it's doing. Which brings me to the pair of concepts that we struggled with most yesterday, stories lived and stories told. Stories told, I just thought I heard somebody outside my office, that's why I hesitated there. Stories told are those stories that we use to make sense of our experience. And here's what I had a little bit wrong yesterday. You tell a story and I tell a story, and they make perfect sense to us. We probably can't coordinate our stories. We probably can't get them to align. Our stories lived, however, are our patterns of interaction. I think of them as the ways we keep bumping into each other. And I tell a story about why you bump into me, and you tell a story why I bump into you, but our stories lived are patterns of interaction that we keep replaying. We keep going through these over and over again. So an example. In Slate magazine, they're currently running a column about the fight that defines a marriage. And their theory is that every marriage has one fight that it keeps returning to, keeps replaying, and there's a pattern there. So I read a column by some of my favorite people in the universe, Hannah Rosen and David Plotz. And they told about this episode of buying a stroller early in their marriage. And they couldn't agree on the stroller, mostly because she just wanted to buy it and get out of the store, and he wanted to buy exactly the right stroller. And they were disagreeing about the amount of incline or recline inside the stroller. David was concerned that if the recline were too high, the baby might tumble out onto the sidewalk. And Hannah was, she was about to deliver a baby in 2 weeks, and she just wanted to get a stroller and get home, put her feet up. So, they have actually noticed that they've had the same kind of argument when they've had a big flamboyant fight. It'll be about this same sort of thing. Not about strollers necessarily, but about David's love of expertise, authority, reasonableness, order in a chaotic world. And Hannah's love of adventure and doing things on impulse and being creative and innovative. They cannot stop telling stories the way they see them. What they can do is to coordinate their patterns of interaction so that they can live peaceably together. And David Plotz actually describes this. I want to read to you a sort of edited version of what he says. I'm going to drop out just a little bit for the sake of time. The thing about 20 years of happy marriage is that even though this remains a fundamental Rosenplotz fault line, and he means by that your love of chaos and my love of order, it's you can't stop telling your story about how good it is to live a little chaotically. And I can't stop telling my story about how important it is to live in a rational and orderly fashion, based on data. We have mostly trained ourselves to smilingly endure, When you misplace your phone or keys or wallet for the nth time, I don't make the snide, passive-aggressive comments I once would have, and when I rent a sensible, hideous minivan for a summer road trip, you may look longingly at the Mustang across the rental lot, but you feign enthusiasm for all that backseat space. They have figured out how to get their patterns of interaction to coordinate, even when they can't get their stories told to coordinate. So Pierce and Cronin want us to look at how we keep bumping into each other and how we can make those bumping into each other maybe happen a little less often. And their hope is that paying attention to what our speech and action are doing can help to create a peaceable life. Talk to you tomorrow.